welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and today we are going through sector number 473 with not one, not two, but three Brokehead Core hosts. Jarrod and Bobby are here today. Welcome back, Bobby.
Hello, Brokeheads. Thank you for having me this week, Daniel, and this should be fun.
And welcome back, Jarrod. This was your idea, having another host on here.
Yeah, you always add a little bit more dynamic conversation. It's never a bad thing.
And it's good because we've got Pokemon news, we've got gaming that we're going to go in, but if it is your very first episode, the way the format goes is we go through all of that news, we head into the Brocat block, which is what Jarrod and Bobby have been doing this week and what I've been doing as well. So it's the section where you get to know us a little bit better, what we've been playing, reading, watching, and there was a lot we were digging into this week because we just had the Sony Showcase. That's going to be at the very end in case for whatever reason you don't want the full showcase spoiled. We're going to have that at the end of today's sector episode, but otherwise, let's go explore and jump right in. First off, the Pokemon Company. This one's right up your alley, Bobby, so I'll have you kick it off. They've announced the Pokemon Evolutions show, which I think the new limited series dropped an episode this week, the first one, and it was created to celebrate 25 years of Pokemon.
The thing with me is, I haven't watched a lot of the cartoons or anime. I didn't grow up on it. Same with the trading card game. I only recently got into it past 6-7 years. But even then, I didn't focus on any of the, the animated stuff. And seeing this trailer compared to, it's not because I don't like it. I missed that window, so I just haven't gone back to watch it. Maybe one day I'll start watching that stuff. I know it's cherished by many. I know, Daniel, you love it too. So no hate on it at all. I just missed it. But yeah, this looks really cool because it's got a very anime style look to it, and I think that's interesting. I also did finish Sword and Shield Story. It's one of the first Pokemon games I finished, actually. So I know the characters, I'm familiar with them. It does follow Leon, at least in the first episode. I think it looks like it might jump around, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, there was a lot of buzz around it. It looks pretty cool. Came out of nowhere, this announcement. Should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of cool. I watch it periodically. I watched the original anime as a kid. It kind of just being on. But honestly, recently I've kind of gotten into when I hang out with my son, he likes to watch it. So I've kind of gotten back into it. I'm sure he's going to enjoy these because he's watched me play Sword quite a bit.
This 8-episode series is going to go through all the known regions and will go up on the official Pokemon YouTube channel. I know initially it might have been thought that Netflix was going to be the home for it, especially since they seem to have that grasp on the Pokemon license. But just I think it was called Generations that they released several years back, it's going to go straight onto YouTube so everyone can watch it. Kids love YouTube. They love Netflix. Those are their two go-tos, at least my son's. And I'm ready for the Kanto region to show up because we might see Bulbasaur, right, Jarrod?
Oh, we can only hope so. Honestly, there should be Bulbasaur in every episode.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, if it's anything like the games, you can have them in every region anyway, so why not?
Exactly. Why not bring out your best character?
Right. That way every episode is a hit. The quality's always there for all 8.
I also think it's also going to be released on the Pokemon TV app, which it also just got added to Switch consoles just recently, so you'll be able to watch it on your Switch if you want to.
That's the one that LGG wanted to stream from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to work out, though, unfortunately, with the Pokemon Company and Nintendo being so, ban happy with their IP.
Right. Yeah, they definitely are. They're not the company you want to stream games from or anything like that. And that was a debate a few years back of let the gamers promote the game for you, but not every company sees it that way.
Games you can do. It's their shows that they don't want rebroadcasted.
So they've changed it with Mario. I thought there was a thing a couple years back where if you streamed Nintendo games, then the ad revenue went to them instead of to you.
Yeah, there was, but they actually ended up reversing that policy.
Awesome.
Because there was such an outrage over it.
They're like, we're assholes, but fine. We'll give you this one thing. One of my other favorite Pokemon is Gengar, and that's been revealed to be the next Build-A-Bear plush ahead of the speculated Leafeon or Glaceon. And Jarrod, have you picked up any of these Build-A-Bear figures or plushes?
Honestly, I'm not a big Build-A-Bear person.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really been too much into collecting like the plushes of most kinds, but I'd probably have to keep my son away from that place because I mean the regular ones are pretty cheap, but when they start getting the outfits, that's where they get you at that place.
And they do these online combos where it will come with the outfits, it'll come with the different voice boxes. And I know, Bobby, you've got all of them up to this point, I'm sure.
I have absolutely zero of them. I'm
Holy
not into
shit,
plushes.
really? Wow.
Not into plushes. Plus, those things are expensive, man. They're almost $50 a piece.
Yeah, but you're Mr. Pokemon.
That's the other thing with the Build-A-Bear stuff in general is I get the novelty of it, but especially if you're ordering it online, that there's really no point. It's like ordering a hibachi to go.
I see what you're saying, where you want to create it and everything. Sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
A couple years ago, when it first started, I remember we were talking about it, and I was going to get like a few of them, and then of course, we all know that they're going to drop them over time, but they were hard to get initially when they first started putting them out. I think you and Kelly were trying to get some. You were trying to get a Bulbasaur or something, a Pikachu, and they were sold out, right? So it's like, when I saw that happening, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to waste my time with this, because if it's going to turn into that type of nightmare, I'm wasting my time with that. And yes, I'm also not a plush collector, so.
Well, we know Bulbasaur came out already. I was able to thankfully get one, and it was going online for, I think, $200 tops at one point until they made it available again on Build-A-Bear. And Jarrod, it sounds like you did pass on Bulbasaur. Bobby, is there any Pokemon that they could solicit that you would go, all right, let me get that one at least?
Probably Greninja. If they do a Greninja, I'll probably grab them.
I think it's a matter of time.
Solid choice.
Yeah. That was in the top 10 most popular Pokemon, wasn't it? Wasn't it number 1?
It was number 1, yeah.
They've got to be doing Greninja.
I don't know why, but yeah, he was number 1.
The only thing I can think of is Greninja. If you look at the other ones that they've done, they're a bit more round shaped and a little bit easier to stuff. I think Greninja would be a little more complicated for the employees.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They'd have to pull like the bear that's always laying down. There was one of the Pokemon that they did that way too, so I think that maybe they could pull it off that way. So as long as the license keeps going, they'll keep making them. Same with the Funko Pop. They just did 4 new ones that they announced. The Silver Squirtle, for some of the members here I know are big on Squirtle, so they're finally doing the Silver Squirtle, the Dragonite, Pidgeotto, and then Caterpie. So they're just going through the Kanto Pokemon, and it's only the start. They're going to keep making them, and that's great because Dragonite, I think, is going to be the popular one from that set.
Yeah, they'll keep making them until they stop selling.
And we do have plenty of video game news this week. Sony has announced that it will no longer include a free PS4 to PS5 upgrade for their first-party titles. It seemed like a lot of the Sony fans really downplayed it or didn't really talk about this. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it. Horizon Forbidden West is going to be the last title to feature this. So we'll start off with Bobby. What do you think about this no longer needed, I guess, upgrade from one console to the next?
It would have happened sooner, but with the length of the pandemic now reaching almost into 2 years, I think we're at 18 months now. These games have slowly spread out and their game production been halted and slowed down. So that's the only reason why it's lasted this long. We've had other generations where consoles were hard to get, so that's not the excuse of, oh, well, nobody can buy a PS5. It's just inevitable at this point. It should have happened a while back. I don't think anybody's going to cry about it. The folks that are going to be upset are the folks that haven't been able to get a PS5 or can't afford one yet. Totally understandable. But is that Sony's fault? Do they care? No, they don't. They care about their bottom line. And to them, they know that they've sold the most consoles to this point. So their numbers don't lie to them. So it's like, okay, well, our consoles are out there and we're the highest selling console. And we've already outsold all the predecessors by this point. It's been out for 1 year. So why should they continue to upgrade titles from the previous generation? There's no reason to, in their eyes. Will there be players upset? Absolutely. Will they scream? Absolutely. Will the naysayers? Yes, they'll all be upset. But yeah, I think it's a smart business decision because it's going to hold these studios back from having to develop for 2 different games and include all these patches and all this extra work. So I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I completely expected it. I'm actually, again, like I'm with the pandemic, it kind of makes sense, but I am kind of even surprised with that it kind of lasted this long. Usually there's like a little bit of a transition period, but I can't really recall other generations even doing like the free upgrade to the next gen thing other than like a very few games. Like I think Battlefield 3, it might have been, did that, but it wasn't ever usually like first party systems, like first party games.
I know on my end, I used to really like having that backwards compatibility, and I think we've all kind of gotten used to the fact that that's no longer going to really be a thing with these consoles today, and especially as they're trying to do things digitally like Game Pass or Nintendo. I forgot what their thing is called, where they're trying to resell you some of those classics, but that's kind of going to be the model now moving forward, a type of Netflix-ish or some kind of regular subscription where you can access these old games. And I think that's the smart way to do it, because I think consumers are going to pay a monthly or an annual fee and happily be able to play these retro games. And I think that this upgrade from one console to the next, as you both mentioned, we're a couple of years into this current gen, and we're not really, anyone that's going to get that new console, anyone that's really wanting it, has found some way to get it, and convincing someone otherwise by here's a free upgrade, I don't think that's really working as far as like, okay, well maybe now I'll get this game and then I'll get a PS5 later. I think we're past that point.
Yeah. You are referring to a different issue though when you say backwards compatibility, because the 5 and the X series consoles are both backwards compatible. What this is directly referring to is getting let's just say Forbidden West, getting Forbidden West and having the full potential that the PS5 can do for it, meaning the 60 FPS or higher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas if you take a title like, I don't know, Call of Duty from that did get upgraded. Knack. Okay, let's go with Knack. That's a PS4 title. I can play Knack on my PS5 and it works just fine. The PS5 will upgrade it, hardware wise, because it'll accelerate how the game plays, but it doesn't have a software, graphical, or engine upgrade. Whereas what Sony's saying is, okay, we're not going to do these free upgrades patches for games to play at PS5 quality, because the PS5 is backwards compatible for PS4 games. You can plug your PS4 games into a PS5 and play them all. There's only like 5 total games that are not compatible, and they're like random non-popular games. That is fine. You can do it backwards. Now you can't put like a PS3 disc in there. That is a thing. You can't do that. But PS4 you can. You can put all your games in there.
Well, that's even better then, because if at worst you just play the PS4 version on your PS5, or as you mentioned, the series consoles with your previous one. So actually, this is a great generation of consoles.
Right, because previous ones didn't really allow that. So we're in a better area now. It's just everybody wanting their stats on their games, the 60 plus, up to 120 FPS, the gigahertz, and the up-res on graphics and the speed enhancements and all that stuff. They want all that stuff for all the games. Well, the studios have to patch that in. They have to work on it. That's a lot of time and money and work. So that's why a lot of these games aren't doing it, but some are, because they know they can rehash their games and get people to rebuy them. And they see those numbers, and that's why some of these studios are doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just not going to get the PS5 version for free. Like, and that makes total sense at this point. It's been out long enough. All the people that, like you said, that really, really had to have a PS5 have pretty much gotten one by now. And if they haven't, then don't buy the game yet. Just if you know you're going to buy a PS5 soon, just wait to buy the game. And then when you get your PS5, then go buy the PS5 version.
And some games have started charging. Like Ghost of Tsushima just released a patch last week, and it wasn't free. You had to pay if you're on PS5, because Ghost of Tsushima is a PS4 game, but they added an expansion as well as some additional content for the online mode, and it's essentially $20. We're talking PS4. Well, if you're playing on PS5, you can pay $30, and you get the expansion plus the upgrades. So you get a PS4 game fully upgraded to PS5, and you get the expansion. So additionally, it's a $10 difference. If you break that down, it's just like the cost of a PS4 game versus PS5 game on launch, the $10 difference, because the current gen now is $10 more. So like when a game like Psychonauts 2, that's not a bad example. When a game releases that's going to be on both systems, and it's on an Xbox Series 1X or a PS5, you'll see the game and it's not backwards compatible. Not wrong wording. Not played or released on a PS4 or a Xbox One, then that title will be $70 versus a title that's on both generations will be $60. So that's a good way to measure those two. So essentially, Ghost of Tsushima is just using that $10 model for their DLC.
Sounds like several developers and studios are figuring out creative ways to include new content, and eventually we're just going to move into, all right, now I think it was Spoon, you just said, that focus on the current consoles and only develop for PS5 or the current series, and in a few years we'll start seeing these stronger games fully taking advantage of the power of these systems. Something that got added last week, though, kind of came out of nowhere. We covered it before on the What's New on Netflix, and it did pretty great in spite of years ago. In 2011, box office flop, critical flop, if that matters to you. 2011's Green Lantern dominated Netflix in streaming numbers. It sat as the number 2 movie in the U.S. It is also streamable on HBO Max currently. Spoon, why do you think so many people got into Green Lantern all of a sudden?
I don't know. People like horrible movies. Like it's even Ryan Reynolds, who is the star of the movie and got paid a lot of money to be in the movie, is like, this is a horrible movie.
Well, he was also promised in some ways, like, if Zach wanted me to be Green Lantern in a future Justice League movie, I'll do it. And so he must not hate it that much.
Oh, no, he doesn't hate the character. He just thought that the movie was incredibly poorly executed. Like, he likes the character. He's super into comics. Like, that's why he basically by himself made Deadpool happen.
Right. Yeah, because he leaked that footage, right? The test footage?
Yep.
What do you think, Bobby? Why did it hit number 2 of all things?
So I think there's a couple of things at play here. I think there's too many people that have never seen the movie, and we all know Netflix is just about in everybody's home. There's a lot of people still stuck at home or at home more frequently to where they can watch things, and this popped up. And I also think that the other reason is this is, the folks that are aware of this movie, obviously, it's a meme. It's the same thing that happened with GameStop and the same thing that happened to AMC and that Dogecoin stuff. It's just people dunking on it and pumping it up because it's a meme and it's funny. I think it also means something to Ryan Reynolds because I'm pretty sure that's where he met his wife.
Yes.
Might have been right around that time. But yeah, he was hyper about this movie back in the day, and then of course it pooped, and he's been pooping on it ever since. In both Deadpool films, he's ragged on it, which is great.
That ending scene. The ending scene from the second one where he's just going back through time, righting wrongs, and he just it was the perfect dunk on that movie. It is an objectively bad movie. It's not even a good popcorn movie. But yeah, no, I mean, the memeability is there. And also, like, who hasn't sat around with a bunch of their friends and, you maybe grab something to drink or something and hang out and watch a horrible movie that is bad and make fun of it.
I've been playing it at the store and catching little bits here and there, but I haven't really sat down and rewatched it. And I kind of want to because of Mark Strong Sinestro and really give it a fair shot. And I did ask on Twitter if anyone was going to go back and check out 2011's Green Lantern along with apparently thousands of other people. And longtime Broquette, Mogo Broquette, Brian, thank you so much. Bobby is too. But Brian said, quote, "Definitely watching again. Well, at least the parts with Mark Strong," end quote. And I think everyone kind of agrees that Mark Strong there's nothing really bad about his performance or Sinestro in that film.
Yeah, I'd agree. He was good supporting character in that film.
Yeah, he was good. I honestly think Ryan Reynolds did a good job with it. It's just everything around them that was the problem.
Yeah, I had the weird villains, and they set up Sinestro, and you had this cloud monster thing we were talking about in the shop, where it was that period of superhero movies where they always fought this weird giant thing. Like in Fantastic Four, they had Galactus, but he was the ultimate Galactus, so it was this swarm of things. And then in the first Hulk movie with Ang Lee, he fought a cloud basically, and this was the same thing. Parallax, instead of being this scary entity like it is in the comics, and it's weird because Jeff Johns also worked on this, but we know how good Jeff Johns is with movies. And in here, they still made it like this face cloud space creature that he ends up punching with a fucking fist.
Yeah, it was following the books pretty well that he obviously wrote. and then it gets in the third act, it just falls apart with Parallax and what they did, and it's so weird. I don't know if it was a budget problem, and they didn't know how to construct Parallax, because in the books Parallax was like this like dragon, wasn't he? A dragon
Kind of
construct?
like an alien dragon bug thing, like all those three put together.
And then the guy that was affected, the doctor, I forgot his name. Like they made him look like he's in the book. They followed that, but then it got out of control with Parallax, and it just completely fell apart right at that point. Yeah, that's where I think it gets really messy, is near the end.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things too, where it's kind of reminiscent of the era of like Batman and Robin, where it's just it happened, but it was kind of weird.
I'd be curious to see if anyone else revisited it. If you did, let us know on Twitter. I definitely want to rewatch it. I want to see it again, and it's been years, so why not? And apparently a lot of people did. For the upcoming Dune film, though, which I am excited for, I know some people are boycotting everything Warner Brothers, and I totally get it. I might maybe just stream it if that. So I don't know. I'm excited for Dune, though. As previously announced, the upcoming Dune film will only cover half of the material from Frank Herbert's sci-fi novel, which we kind of expected that they were going to go big with this thing. In an interview at the Venice Film Festival, director Denis Villeneuve revealed that he is already working on the script for the sequel. He said, quote, "If there is enthusiasm and the movie is greenlit, sooner than later, I will say that I will be ready to shoot 2022 for sure. I am ready to go, and I would say that I would love to bring it to the screen as soon as possible," end quote. From what early screenings have said, the movie does open with Dune Part 1, or closes with Dune Part 1, so it does have that set up that expectation to the audience of this is not a complete story, we're going to get more out of this. But it's kind of interesting that Warner Brothers has yet to go ahead and say, okay, we are going to do a Dune 2. They're instead playing the wait and see game. From one standpoint, I can see it because Dennis's movies have not really been blockbuster hits. He's done things like Arrival. He's done Blade Runner 2029. I know that one did kind of underperformed for him, but great movies. Still, people, I know I enjoyed him. I know he does really good films. Sicario was excellent, and Prisoners was awesome. But again, movies that are not really blockbusters. And I'm curious if you think if Dune will be that blockbuster. Start off with you, Jarrod.
I think it's got potential. I'm a little concerned about it because I don't really know. Like, the books have been around forever. And wasn't there, if I remember right, I never watched it, but I think there was like an attempt at a movie before.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, anybody who's ever read the book, like, if you thought they were going to fit it all into a whole movie, like, you're insane. But it's got potential. I honestly, I can't tell what's going to be like. What does even a blockbuster qualify as right now?
Something that I guess, well, some studios would say $1 billion is a blockbuster, but I think for this one, they're kind of expecting it to, I don't know, COVID pandemic. Well, if you're Warner Brothers, you're going to say the Suicide Squad was a hit, and even though that didn't do well, but I guess it depends on what their particular agenda is, if they want more Dune or not. Yeah, you're right. It's hard to say what really is a blockbuster. I guess 80 million opening weekend is what we're looking at. Stuff that Black Widow or Shang-Chi has been doing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. Well, you know what? I don't know that I do see it doing that in theaters. You know what I mean? Because it is kind of a niche story, like fandom. So I'm curious to see how it does, but you know, it's one of those where I can't really tell you which way it's going to go, because it could, you know, come out, have really good reviews, and you know how most people pick movies based on reviews. Mm-hmm. But I honestly have no idea how big the Dune fandom is.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't think it has that install base really, and I'd want to see what the budget is. If they really dropped a shit ton of money on this, it might have been a mistake. What do you think, Bobby?
I think if we're looking at this film in summer of 2019, absolute blockbuster. But now we're looking at this post-pandemic scenarios with so much uncertainty with how theaters are operating and running, and people that can go versus can't go. And we're not just talking domestic; we're talking worldwide. You know, there's other countries that are in different scenarios. Like, you know, Australia just went into their third or fourth lockdown. It's just weird stuff. So when you look at it as a whole, like if they're thinking of a blockbuster on a global scale, maybe because they're going to get money from around the world. But if they're looking at domestically because that's their highest revenue stream, I think there's a lot of concern there because they've had some movies release in theaters and on streaming. But Daniel, you and I have talked about this. Like, it's so inconsistent and so weird because things literally change every other day. So like what might look good 2 months from now, we get closer to that and it becomes worse. I mean, look at Spider-Man. It's moved around several times. I'm sorry, wrong movie. Venom 2 has moved around a couple times already. There's films that keep sliding and sliding and sliding. Bond slid again, and then now we get a final trailer. Are they actually going to release it this time? Maverick got slid through several times this year. Now it's slated for, I think, March of next year or June, something like that. So it's weird because a lot of these movies have been filmed and in the can for well over a year and a half, almost 2 years. So it's going to be very interesting when it comes out, when it does, like, okay, well, how's it going to perform? I think they can't move it again, right? Because it's part of the streaming pairing. Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's true. It's part of
it's committed?
That and Matrix, I think, are the last two big ones that are releasing on both screen and HBO Max. They've already said in 2022 they've made these deals with these theaters. They're not going to hit HBO Max.
Yeah, I think it's after 45 days, but even then, like if they wanted to delay a movie, I guess they could. They could just slide it around, but we haven't seen that yet. It'll be interesting. I think, like Jarrod said, it's hard to determine what classifies as a blockbuster now because we're in this new weird era of recording gains from the film theaters.
Yeah. Also, too, like the more they move movies around, like people who aren't like, if it's just a movie that you're kind of peripherally interested in going to see. Honestly, I had a couple months ago. I'm like, did that new Top Gun movie ever come out? And it hadn't.
Yep.
But I had no idea because it's like they just kind of get lost in this shuffle of everybody's lives are like there's news constantly now. And when you move things around, like they don't make a big deal out of it. They try to kind of downplay it, which means by the time you actually put some of these movies out, people have been waiting this long. And how many of them have lost interest?
That's what Disney was afraid of with Bland Middow of, well, we got to just put it out because eventually no one's really going to care. And a lot of people were saying that was a big fear with Tenet, in spite of what Nolan was saying. No, it needs to be only in theaters and not all of that stuff. And all these studios really didn't know what to do. And I didn't blame them. No one knew what the right step was. Like, we can talk about it, and we did talk about it week to week, and it was still like, I guess they can do that. And then now you're starting to see some movies makes a couple $1 million, $80 million, and it's like, all right, well, we can see what the potential is and kind of measure it out from there. And I think that's probably what they're going to have to do. And there's still a lot of fear over whether or not theaters will make it through all of this. And one of the fears is that some movies are going to start being made for streaming. And this is something that happened. It was brought up during the CinemaCon panel where Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins spoke out against streaming movies. She said, quote, "All of the films that streaming services are putting out, I'm sorry, they look like fake movies to me. I don't hear about them. I don't read about them. It's not working as a model for establishing legendary greatness," end quote. So I think for clarity, she's not talking about the dual releases, and I know she is against that. She's all about the theatrical experience, as many directors are, but she's talking about specifically movies that are made for streaming. And this got a lot of discussion going, and I think a lot of people did disagree. They pointed to Army of the Dead as an example of, you can make movies that look like cinema quality that you can put up on a big screen and they'll look great, and it'll also look great on your television screen, as we do with most movies that we watch anyway at home. But I wanted to hear what you guys thought about this. We'll start off with Bobby this time.
So I think it's pretty interesting for her to say that, considering that she signed a deal to work with Disney Plus to do Rogue Squadron. Yeah, that's a show and not a movie, but technically when they film those, they film one giant sequence and chop it up. That's why those episodes are so long. I don't know. I haven't liked her attitude ever since 84 came out and the whole stink that was around it with, the argument over her having to get paid out to push it for HBO Max. Like, whatever. She, should be concerned. It's her project. She worked on it. It's her passion. Just like you talk on the other side of this. If it was Zack Snyder, he's going to push his product. Same thing. But it almost seems like she's kind of being hypocritical, and it's like you can only throw so many bombs in one direction. You gotta just forget about it, move on. She took the money, she moved on, and she should just move on and stop looking back at. Obviously, her film didn't do very well, and that's what she's mad about. You can tell.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Wonder Woman 1984 exactly was establishing legendary greatness. Yeah, she's just mad. She's mad because she made a horrible movie. Like directors do that all the time. No, honestly, as far as it goes, I wonder. My concern with the theaters, and it kind of goes back to the whole like the Dune and Matrix and all that, and you're like, what is considered a blockbuster anymore? I think the dynamic has changed, like a lot of different dynamics with COVID. People kind of got spoiled with this like same day streaming thing. I mean, myself, like I didn't go to a whole lot of movies in the theater. I've got a 5-year-old, I've got a wife, I work nights, my schedule's weird. I'll generally, like, if they want to stop doing that and just doing it 45 days later, okay, I'll just wait 45 days. And I wonder how many other people are thinking that same thing, considering that you go to the movies and you pay for the ticket and you pay for the snacks. And I'm like, I have a really comfortable couch and I can make whatever food I want to eat this with. But I think a lot of people got spoiled. And I don't know that movies in theaters are ever going to pull the numbers that they used to.
It's going to be one of those things of waiting till we see how many people are willing to go out, if 80 million is the new normal for opening, or if, something else comes out like Venom 2 and does incredible like the first film did. And then it's like, okay, maybe that's the new normal. And I don't know. I think obviously time will tell. I know on my end, I'm still, and I have been, as soon as theaters open right back up, Kelly and I have been going to the movies, going into the theater. We brought Leo to his first movie on the big screen with Paw Patrol. So I know there's going to be people like myself that are going to make that effort to still go and see and enjoy movies on the big screen before I watch it on HBO Max. There's been some movies like Godzilla vs. Kong. I watched it the second time on HBO Max. I wanted to experience it the first time on the big screen. And it's one I didn't enjoy, but I watched it again for the podcast. And that's kind of nice that we have that option of, all right, well, we can watch it at home now. But yeah, you're right. I think it'll if a lot of people did get used to, well, I'll just stream it at home, I'll just watch it at home, and they're seeing that with TV too, then it could be that they don't come back to theaters. And I hope they do. I like theaters. I want them to stick around. I like the big screen experience. But if that were to go away, they would have to set up a new standard, a new format to making these movies so that they cater to the smaller screens, so that they can make them more streamable, if that makes any sense. Because there's got to be some vast differences when you're trying to produce something for a streaming service as opposed to this is intended for the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I could see a future very easily if, my inclinations are correct, where, I mean, theaters still exist, but they're not in every mall. You know what I mean? They're more of a niche experience that you go. Things like what's the Alamo, like Draft House or whatever it is, where you can go and you can order like better food than just popcorn and milk duds and kind of make a night of it. I can see those lasting longer just because they offer more of an experience than a regular theater. But I don't honestly know where it's all going to end up.
One of the biggest streaming movies that have, I think, established a legendary greatness, and it's been something that people have been fighting for many years, is the physical copies of something that was said it didn't exist. Oh, it does exist, but it's not done. Oh, it's mostly done, but it's never going to release. Oh, it did release, but it's going to be bad. Oh, it came out and it's bad, but people like it and it's good. Well, we're not going to get any more. That's where we're at right now. You're not going to get any sequels, so who cares? Like, it's just keeps getting pushed. Is Zack Snyder's Justice League as physical copies of this film that does not exist released, and the WB did the bare minimum. It does not include a digital code, and it is speculated though that it's because of that exclusivity to HBO Max, since you don't have a thing to redeem it on, because if you try to take it to All Movies or Vudu, they don't offer that film because it's exclusive to HBO Max. So how are you really going to be able to redeem that digital copy? But that's been a big thing where a lot of people are upset that there's no digital code to this one. Do you think they should have included something like this, or at least released it on Vudu? What do you think, Jarrod?
I think they could have released it on Vudu. I think it would have been a better PR move. I kind of understand where it's an exclusive to HBO Max and you can stream it anyway, but I guess it kind of depends on whether they are intending to leave it up there indefinitely, or like you're not going to have the option to always have it, even when like other digital movie services where like you put in your code and things like that, they always moved your previous purchases to another platform when they went away, and there's been a couple of them that did that, if I recall. I guess you'll at least always have the physical one. I think it's also weird that there seems to be like a lot of stock issues with the physical discs.
There's been some weird things happening with the stock. It has been selling out, and there's been pictures online of like Walmart, Best Buy. Some employees were like, no, we completely sold out as soon as we opened. And then there's some experiences where it's speculated that Warner Brothers only printed X amount of copies so that they can say, well, we're not going to reproduce more. Whatever we sell out, we sell out. And oh, look, they can present this to Discovery and be like, we only sold 2 million copies, whereas Mortal Kombat, we sold 5 million to retailers. So there's a lot of shenanigans supposedly happening here. And this week, the buy it now on DVD and 4K, that trailer that went up on their YouTube, they unlisted it so that it wouldn't get found on YouTube, and you needed that link to watch the video. And someone, I don't know how they got the link. I'm sure someone on the inside was like, this is what WB's doing. Here's the link. Please share it. And it went from minimal views to today it was up to 35,000 views. There's just so much weird shit happening around this release of the disc. Obviously, they're still trying to suppress it, sabotage it, or whatever you want to say, downplay it. A lot of Toby, let's fire Toby Emmerich. It's probably Toby. And to try to make this as little of a success as possible, but I think the opposite is happening, where they're throwing a bunch of fuel on the fire. Warner Brothers still isn't fucking learning their lesson on this. Bobby, do you have much to say about how they handled the release of this movie?
Well, they can't include a digital copy of a movie that is exclusive to HBO Max streaming service. So whoever's complaining about that, get off your horse. Doesn't make any sense. Now, if we were talking like this movie wasn't exclusive to HBO Max, then yeah, that's a bigger problem. Like, why would they not include a digital copy that you can redeem somewhere? All movies do. But if it's going to remain an HBO Max exclusive, then there's no reason to include a digital copy. What Jarrod said, for PR sakes, they could have branched out and made it available over there and then done that, or not made it available, and then everybody can be pissed as fairly. The least they could have done to not have this issue is maybe include a leaflet for 3 months free of HBO Max, or 30 days free of HBO Max. Sign up now, explore the library, and it's an ad for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hey, if you want to watch this streaming, watch it here. Here's a code for 30 days. That would have been the option to go, but this whole upset that there's no digital copy, get off of it. It's not going to happen, and it shouldn't have happened because it's not anywhere else, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. Everybody's used to having the digital code leaflet in their physical copy. That's where this complaint's coming from. They're not really thinking about what's actually going on here.
I'd have to open my copy. I haven't opened it yet. I did open my UK one, but I think there is a trial for HBO Max in one of them, in one of the editions, because someone on Vero was doing a giveaway like, hey, if you really don't have HBO Max, I'll give this to you, and you can, which would be smart because, you're promoting a movie that is exclusively on HBO Max except for these physical copies, and you can hopefully get some people on the service, as they're still trying to do. But it's still a bizarre thing, and Zach today shared that direct link to that trailer that they were unlisting. I don't know. It's weird that they try to hide the hype behind it or minimalize it or say that it's only a few, not really many. And it's pretty amazing to me still that all of this is still going on. And I don't think it's going to stop until Discovery gets that merger complete sometime next year.
And of course, I'm not defending Warner by any means, because they're trash. But we also have to keep in mind that there still are shortages on literally everything. Every week there's a different shortage on something. So it just might be coincidence that there's a shortage on these being produced, or they're slow in moving out. They didn't get to where they needed to go by release time, and then the store shelves will be flooded in the next few weeks or months. If it never happens and they just stop showing up, then that'll be more proof to what you were alluding to, that they didn't produce enough of them. But we won't know that until later on, if we keep seeing them in stores or empty shelves or not available at all in retailers. Then that would literally explain, like, okay, they only printed X amount, so there's a problem there.
One of the final HBO Max to theater releases that we're going to be seeing this year is The Matrix 4, or as they're titling it, The Matrix Resurrection. And that trailer dropped. People were really anticipating it, and it was all over Twitter and social media. It was trending. Seems like people really love this trailer. The movie is set to release this year sometime in December. That date may or may not move. We're not sure. What are your thoughts on this trailer? Start off with you, Bobby.
Looks neat. I like how they were able to keep some of the cast intact, but I don't care. I watched the trilogy; it was fine. I'm not hard on for Matrix. I haven't been asking for a fourth movie, even though they've been discussing it forever. I just don't care. I'll watch it probably, but I'm not going to be like, oh my god, I can't wait till this day, and then at the stroke of the clock when it's released, I'm going to go watch it. No, sure, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I enjoyed the movies except for the second two. I watched the trailer. I have honestly more questions than excitement, I think, is my only issue. I mean, you don't have Agent Smith. You have like a weird young version of Morpheus. Some of the symbolism that I saw people caught that paid way more attention than I did was kind of neat. Like with the, Neil Patrick Harris's character having, blue rimmed glasses, and the other lady that he was talking to having the red one, kind of like representing the blue pill and red pill kind of situation. Honestly, I'm not going to be real excited about it until I figure out, like, where does this movie land in the timeline? You know what I mean? Like, what's the story? I'm sure they'll cover it at some point, or it'll be like the beginning of the movie, but why is he back in the Matrix again? Like, I thought we resolved this situation.
Right. And why do they call this Matrix 4? Isn't this Matrix 5? Because Animatrix is also canon, and that was after the third film.
Well, it's not technically Matrix 4, it's Matrix Resurrection.
That's true. Okay. And also you can consider Animatrix 1.5 if you needed to.
Fair.
I was hyped to see this trailer. I'm not sure why. I was just really excited to watch it. I'm not big on Matrix. I rewatched the first one. I'm like, that was really fucking good. But I was like, all right, cool. And I moved on over the last month or so when I rewatched it. But I watched the trailer and I'm like, why was I so excited about this? I don't know. I guess I got caught up in the excitement of this is when they're going to drop the trailer. And I did notice that John Wick fans are loving this. They're like, this is John Wick in the Matrix. Great. And they're excited for it. I know Keanu fans are going to be there for it. I'm sure it's going to do great, whether it's on streaming or on the big screen, because he's maintaining that brand that he has of the longer hair, the beard. People associate that with action and with Keanu Reeves and with John, whatever it is, that excitement, it's going to capture that. I've seen it already with how people are raving about it. And I think that's great, good on them. But for me, I'm also not massive on the Matrix. I like the Animatrix. I like the first one, 2 and 3 or whatever. But I will be there to see this one. Not on the big screen. Maybe I'll stream it. I don't know if I'll stream it right away. If maybe the other hosts are excited for it, and it's like, all right, we can talk about it here. Great. Maybe I'll watch it right away. But yeah, it was kind of weird that I'm like, I don't know. Why did I really want to see this trailer? Why am I excited? And I don't know if anyone else had that.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I'm kind of like, oh, cool, a new Matrix. And I'm like, it was a good trailer, I think. I think they did a good job cutting it together and, getting all the action scenes, and, you saw the characters that, are going to be in the movie that you wanted to see. I don't know who was asking for this. And anybody saying that John Wick is in the Matrix, shut up. Stop besmirching the name of John Wick.
No, that's Johnny from Cyberpunk 2077. What are you talking about?
I'm more okay with that, because that game was awful. Like,
can only go up, right?
I finished it. I played it and I beat it, but that was an awful game. But no, John Wick is a masterpiece, and The Matrix, the first one was good, and the second and third one were and I have no reason to believe this one's not going to end up being You know what I mean?
I think the excitement comes from us all collectively. We saw it, early on, and we were younger, and it was one of the first films to do the kind of things that it did. The bullet stopping with the hand, the bending of time with the, Agent Smith dodging the bullets, Neo dodging the bullet. Some weird and new, innovative ways for filmmaking occurred in that movie for the viewers. And at the time, it was like the best movie we'd ever seen, right? So we grew up, and it's part of our nostalgia, not worrying about the other two films, but just the first film. And I think that's where a lot of this hype is from. It's like they want to revisit that excitement that they had when the film originally released. And they kind of touched on that in the trailer. They kind of showed some of that stuff that they're going to put in this film.
Yeah, you know what? You might be right, because I think my wanting to see it has more to do with like, hey, I wonder what they're going to do with this concept with the stuff that we can do now.
Yes.
As far as movies and, computer generated stuff, and how like they've gotten really good at it, I feel like, between the time of the first Matrix and now. So from a technical aspect, I'm kind of excited about it. But as far as like, ooh, new Matrix movie, I'm like, nah, not really. They could put any label on it, and if it was going to be that kind of thing, I'd probably watch it just for that aspect.
I'm willing to bet all three of us at least tried once to try to do the bullet dodge.
Yep.
Right?
Probably 100 times, and I failed miserably.
Right. So there's our attachment to why, like Daniel, you said your attachment to like, oh my God, I want to see this trailer and then get let down by it, because that's what it was. That feeling, that nostalgic attachment to it. That's what I think. Like, I wanted to see the trailer too, but after I watched it, it's like, okay, sure. Whatever.
Exactly.
Not excited.
I woke up this morning. I'm like, oh, it's Matrix trailer today, and then I watched it. I'm like, oh, all right.
The best part of that trailer is, and this shout out to you if you're listening, Gob. Your reaction to this trailer was amazing.
What did he say? Give me, because I didn't watch his reaction video.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out.
It's so good. He's reading comments while he's watching the trailer. And then he's comparing different things, and he's like, he does screen frozen, and he's like, oh look, it's Kevin Feige. He's like, oh, they used the same song that they used in another trailer from back in the day, like a different movie. It's like, oh yeah, we're not being original. And then there was another one where he was. This is my favorite part. At the end, somebody says, "Fuck Gob, fuck you, Gob." He just reads it and then goes on to the next thing.
That sounds perfectly on brand.
You got to watch his face, though. He moves his head around, I think, when he finds Kevin Feige. It's so funny.
Oh, I'm definitely watching it. I saw that it was a 40-minute stream, so I was like, okay, I'll come back to it eventually. I'll check it out.
It's so good.
Yeah, no, that should be like just a clip out.
I think there's a condensed version with all the funny parts.
I'll check that out. I do think, yeah, I agree. The Matrix does have that uphill battle, and I think we've nailed it just by talking about it, of that experience that we had. And this is where I give the first movie so much credit, and I don't know if you guys disagree with this, but yes, it did a lot tech-wise, and it innovated with the special effects, but it also told an interesting story. I had all of these concepts and ideas that they were influenced by anime and by these certain books that talk about these physical ideas of, are we a brain in a jar? They're like all of that I'm sure other movies have tried to do, but this one, due to the success of the first one, it got everyone thinking about that idea and all these other things, like, oh, this is what deja vu is, and that's how they explain this, and what if we're all just asleep in this vat and we're in a program, or this is all a dream, or we're right now reliving our life currently. Like, there's so much of that this movie explores, that it also gave it just long legs of it being more than just a special effects heavy movie. Like, let's say Avatar, where I think it's largely like, yes, it did an amazing thing for the box office, but it's not really a movie that I think people discuss or talk about in the same way that they would The Matrix.
No, that's true. And it's probably also one of like the inflection points for simulation theory in general.
Right. So them trying to kind of explore that. And one thing that I hope this movie does is, because it has been, I think, 20 years since the last movie, or at least the first one, since the first film, that it will have that new like feeling of, okay, maybe this is the first in a new trilogy, and they can start to almost have its own fresh start, just as one of you guys said just now, of, well, let's see what they can do with these ideas, not just tech-wise, but I hope they do it with storytelling as well, of, we've got these established characters, but maybe we can set up this new idea to the Matrix, or this new idea of how this software works and how Neo is back. So we'll see. Time will tell, and I hope it does do that for, if anything, for its fan base. But for now, I think we all kind of agreed that we're like, oh, all right. That came and went.
Yeah, it sure did.
After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
One movie I'm more excited for, though, than The Matrix is Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Even though it'll have the inclusion of Carnage, Sony's upcoming Venom sequel has officially been rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence, action, strong language, disturbing material, and suggestive references. Hopefully we'll get another Venom Eddie Brock makeout scene. We got that sexy Venom with that we saw in the first one. And actually the director did describe this as a love story of sorts, so we might see some of that. He did say that the symbiote and Eddie Brock have like this love story in the sequel. The first Venom movie brought in over $856 million at the global box office. It did way better than I think anyone expected. And it did great for Sony, where they can really all right, we got this fucking franchise right here. This is great. It outgrossed movies like Mission Impossible, Fallout, Deadpool 2, and Ant-Man and the Wasp that year. It's set to release on October 15th, 2021 in theaters only. It's not going to have the dual release. I know, Bobby, you still think it's going to come out sometime next year, but at least they are set on this is theaters only. And what do you think, Bobby, about this PG-13 rating in a Carnage film? And the runtime is only an hour and a half.
So I got some breaking news for you. They just moved the date up. So they
that's
did
right.
that because of Shang-Chi. What Shang-Chi did, they're trying to move up and take advantage of early rollout because they think that Delta is going to be a little stronger and keep people from going to the theaters. So we'll see if it works. I guess the sooner the better. But it is now on October 1st instead of October 15th. Showings go up as early as September 29th because we all know by now you can go watch movies in theaters on the Wednesday before, on the week that they come out for early screenings, and then Thursday following Thursday nights, and then full release schedules on a Friday. I still think it's going to get delayed, but now that they moved it up 2 weeks, that kind of squashes that because we're only 3 weeks away from that release date. Yeah, so that to me seems like a plea of we don't want to delay this again, let's move it up 2 weeks. So unless all hell breaks loose in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, then it's going to stick. But without them moving that up, I for sure agree that it'd be moved to next year, but who knows at this point. The PG-13 rating, whatever. I think that sucks that they're taming down the movie. They should have just made it rated R. It's not under the Disney umbrella, so I don't know why they're trying to tame it down. But I guess they're also trying to include more audience members in this current state. Maybe it is an R film and they chopped it down to that because they're worried about who will be able to attend in an already shrunken theater environment. An hour and a half is kind of sketchy to me as well. I'm a fan of 2-hour movies, or just barely over 2 hours. When things get to an hour and a half, I always get worried. So my worry is the pacing there's going to be a pacing issue. That's common for some films that are short, but whatever. And I don't mean to say an hour and a half is short because that's probably standard, but I think we'll see what happens when it comes out. I have no idea.
So they only get one fuck, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what they got in the first one. First one, he yells it near the end of the movie. Kept it PG-13.
I mean, I guess I'm okay with it. I really like the first one. I said I was not going to rush out to see this one because who the heck knows when it's actually going to come out. It's kind of the way I feel about every movie right now. The hour and a half kind of bothers me a little bit because it's probably going to be pacing. I'm wondering if they were originally setting it up as an R-rated movie, and because of the things they had to cut out, that's kind of where it ended up. I could see this have been, even another 15 minutes or so, it being a little bit better paced. But I mean, it'll probably be all right.
That's the one thing where the first one was PG-13 and did amazing. So I see the studio decision. I would have loved an R-rated Carnage film, all right, where you got the murdering fucking symbiote that goes around and kills people. It's like doing a PG-13 Joker film, but we're kind of getting it with this one, and to be expected. I hope it is what Bobby said, where there are some sequences that are more intense so that later on they can release an R-rated cut on, call it the unrated cut or whatever, and then you release both versions. And people like me, I think, if I enjoy the second one, I'll be like, all right, let me check out the unrated cut. If it's a huge hit,
call it Maximum Carnage.
There you go. Call it fucking. You're doing the marketing for them already, and then you release it. You release it early.
Carnage cut's good.
Yeah, you re-release it early next year as the rated R version. Make some more box office money. So there's an idea right there, Sony. Yeah, it's millions right up there. I'm excited for it still, and I will be there in theaters to check it out. I already have my tickets. Kelly and I are going to be going, and depending on who hosts the week after that, we'll see if we can talk about it, discuss it, review it, whatever it may be for Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. This last week, we also had the Sony Showcase, which you added onto the notes here. There's several games that got announced, some pretty big waves being made here. So not half of them, I'm like, all right, you know, I'm whatever interested. But I did see some of these trailers, including Spider-Man 2. So you kick it off, Bobby. What'd you think of this?
So I was watching this with LGG. We watched it all together. We were blown away at like this conference. They just punch after punch. Sony threw punches. Like, this is what we've been missing is announcements like this. We didn't get a lot of information, obviously, but that's fine. At least we know what's in the pipes and what's being worked on, and we got some gameplay for some other games. So I'll just run through these really quick, and then we can go back to them. Spider-Man 2, he's with Miles. So like we've got Spider-Man and then Miles Morales, and now their stories have been together between both games. Well, now we get Spider-Man 2, and they're together. And then the threat that you see in the trailer is Venom.
Yes, we will.
I'm glad that they're bringing him into the fold. That's a big bad, and I absolutely love the Spider-Man games that Insomniac has made for the PlayStation. They are phenomenal. If you have not played them, please go play them. They're excellent. But that trailer looked really, really cool. It's a CGI trailer, so there's not much there. It's slated for a 2023 release. Fantastic. Then we got another Insomniac Marvel, and we were like, "What the fuck? What is this? Another Insomniac Marvel movie game?" And it's freaking Wolverine. So no date on that. It's just a quick CGI trailer intro. That'll be exciting. Clearly they know what they're doing over there, and I'm excited for that. A big trailer that we got early on in that showcase, I think it was the first one, was for a Coder remake, Knights of the Old Republic.
We face the greatest Sith in generations.
Not much, but it exists, and we know it's coming. What's not clear, though, is if it's only Sony or not. It kind of makes sense if it is, because it was done at their showcase, but we don't know that yet. There's no date. It was just a very simple CGI reveal. Who knows when that'll come out. We saw some gameplay for Ghostwire Tokyo, slated for this game's got pushed around a lot. When they showed this, they still didn't give a date. I know Scott's very excited for this game. It looks pretty cool. We'll see what happens with it. Gran Turismo 7, finally got some gameplay footage of that. Looks fantastic. They gave no date, but then in the after show, they were talking to the developer, and they said March 2023 or 2022 is their slated date. So we'll see what happens with that. Forspoken is a new IP from Square Enix, and looks pretty cool. It's a girl that got like stuck in time, and she gets these like powers. Really cool trailer. Very open world. Looks gorgeous. We'll see where that goes.
Are you coming with us?
You'll get your answer soon enough.
At the end of the entire presentation, we got God of War Ragnarok. It officially got its title, so it is Ragnarok. And we saw some gameplay footage of that. The boy is a little grown up. He's a teenager. The characters all return, and we do see a glimpse of Thor. So that'll be an interesting game, because the 2018 version was really good. It's just a continuation from it. We got some gameplay footage for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This is Tiny Tina from Borderlands. This looked really cool. A lot of people were trying to figure out what this game was going to be, and it looks like it's just Tiny Tina being awesome. Like, she's an excellent character in that series. And it's very Borderlands-esque. The artwork and the gameplay is the same. It's first person, but you're playing as different like classes, and it looks like she's playing a D&D campaign with her friends, and that's what you're playing as. So it seems kind of fun. We'll see where that goes. Borderlands has always been a really good game, so if Gearbox does what they've done to those games and kind of like has this fun twist with Tiny Tina in this version, this will be neat. It looks cool. We'll see what happens. Project Eve looks really cool. First time we've seen anything like that. I think it's from a Korean studio, and it's a very hack and slash type game, open world. Looks really cool. Scott kept saying she has shiny pants, so he was distracted the whole time by her shiny pants. But there was a lot of different attacking animations. Looked really, really cool. Not so keen on the story because they didn't really talk about too much, but it looks cool. And then Alan Wake Remastered. We got a tip of this a couple days ago. That studio had announced that they're doing a remastered, so we got to see gameplay footage of that. Alan Wake is being remastered and being put for the first time being put on PlayStation. So that'll be coming soon as well. I think that's later this year. But those were the main ones. There were some other little tidbits in there, but these were the main things in there. And like this is strong for Sony. So we'll see where this goes. You know, Xbox had their times to make some big announcements, and they've been releasing some games. So I think this is Sony trying to catch up. But you know, some of these games we're not going to see for a while. But at least we know they're out there.
What do you think, Spoon? Which one caught your eye? Which one you want to dive into?
I mean, the KOTOR remake, I'm kind of excited about. I am also curious if that's going to be a PlayStation exclusive, because if I remember correctly, the original release of KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 were Xbox console exclusives, and they also had a PC release.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's true.
So I think it's kind of an interesting thing if it is a PlayStation exclusive. Spider-Man 2 looks great. Wolverine, I'm excited for, provided that they can do the same thing with that they did with Spider-Man. Like, Insomniac is a great studio. I think Spider-Man put them on the tier with, say, like Naughty Dog, if they can keep that same level of polish and creativity and gameplay. So that's going to be great. Gran Turismo, I'm always a fan of. I just really like racing games. It's probably one of the best, most popular sim racing series out there.
Oh yeah.
And it looks gorgeous. It like don't get me wrong, as far as like arcade racers, I love Forza Horizon, but like the Forza Motorsport games don't quite compare to Gran Turismo. God of War looks great. It's just continuing the same story. I'm totally cool with that. The gameplay looked very, very similar, which was great last time. Alan Wake is kind of an interesting twist. I didn't really expect that, but I honestly haven't been paying attention too much to it, and I'll probably play it. The first one, the first time was good. I'd like to see it kind of up-resed and looking better. It was a good slate. It was a really good showcase for them. I was kind of impressed.
The bits I got out of it was, sure, a lot of this was simply an announcement. Not many of these had full gameplay out of it. And maybe in the next couple of weeks, we'll get, a full trailer for some of them. And I don't think they really need to, though, because a lot of these titles, I don't know if we really got solid release dates for all of them, but not this year was the impression I got out of them. I also got the impression that in Spider-Man 2, since I don't know if either of you picked up on this too, but we got to play as Miles, we got to play as Peter. Do you think that we'll get to play as Venom at some point in the game?
100%.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And you'll probably play as Eddie Brock, early on, and then you move away from that. Think Batman Arkham, where you play as Catwoman in certain sequences. I think that might happen with where you get to mess around with Venom, but it's only for certain sequences in the game.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It gives me vibes of that Maximum Carnage game back in the day. You have to get through those fucking Spidey levels just to play as Venom, and that's when the game got hard.
The game was great too. Spider-Man games in general are usually good. There's a few duds, but in general they're good. Insomniac just murders with the two titles they have out so far. They've got it down. And the Spider-Man remastered on PS5 it was already a great game. It's just amazing what they've done to it remastered, and it's even better on a PS5. So if you haven't tried it, play them. They're pretty cheap these days.
Yeah, I will say Forspoken also looks like it could be really interesting, although I'm a bit apprehensive about it, because Square for me is either I really love it or I'm really not that into it. But it looks like a really cool concept.
Yeah, it looks cool. If they can get that new IP off the ground, I think that's something that can be special for them. But we'll see.
I know on Discord, Jarrod, you were really excited about KOTOR.
I'm always excited about KOTOR.
So with this remake, is there anything that you would want to see maybe improved on as far as quality of life from that game from many years ago done in this remake?
It really depends on what they're meaning by remake. If it's going to be mostly just a remaster, then I'm honestly okay with it, but don't try to charge me $70. If it's in the line of, I would say, like the Crash Insane trilogy, then I there's really not too much to quibble about with that game. I would like to see maybe some enhanced, what do you call it, like dialogue options. I think that was a really big part of the games, where maybe some more middle options, where every time you came up to a person in the original game, you had like the dark side, the neutral, and the light side answer. So maybe some, more nuance to those would be cool. I'd like to see them get a little bit more in depth with the character change, because that was like kind of like that. You remember the Fable generation of games where they were like, oh yeah, no, the way your alignment goes changes your physical appearance, and they did a pretty good job with it with the graphics back then. But I'm kind of excited to see what they can do with what's available now, because I mean, KOTOR originally came out on the original Xbox.
Yeah, and they've done that
Also,
a little bit with Mass Effect, which was another BioWare game where, depending on whether you're a Paragon or Renegade, you got like that scarring on there. So I'm sure they'll probably do something like that with this remake.
Also, keep in mind that BioWare is not doing this game, so it's not a BioWare
Interesting.
project. It is Asper Media. When they were talking about it afterwards, they did say that they pulled developers and talent from all over, from different former studios, including BioWare. Remember, BioWare got blown up about 2 years ago, so there's a lot of excellent talent that is out there, either jobless or working other places, that have worked on Coder or, what am I thinking of? Mass Effect and all these other games that came out of BioWare. So there will be some former BioWare talent on it, but it's a totally different company. It's Aspire Media. Lucasfilm Games are working on this remake, and according to them, it is not a remaster; it is a remake. So they're redoing the game, similar to like the game that you talked about last week with Ethan, Dead Space. Dead Space is also a remake. And the difference that they fully explain there, plus the test footage that they've shown, is that they're able to go past the limits now with the current capability of the consoles, because they can further enhance the environments and do more with what they were trying to do. And one of the reasons why they were able to get away with so much in that game, why it's such a good series, is because they didn't have a screen overlay hub on that game. If you remember on Dead Space, everything you need to know was on his back. His life and his stats were all on his back piece, his backpack, or whatever that's called. So they can kind of do the same thing now and get more going without having to do the overlay, for the UI on your screen. So that ties a lot into it as well. What I would like to see, like what Jarrod said, it'd be nice to get some deeper options when it comes to your choices that you make, and deepen the consequences or rewards, and maybe change the story up a little bit in that aspect to where there's greater consequences or greater rewards, whether you're a hero or a villain.
Was there romancing in the original KOTOR?
Yes.
All right. Well, maybe was there a female Jabba that you can fuck in that game?
No,
I mean,
I don't think there are a lot of Jawas, period, honestly.
we can talk about extra options. I mean, let's which alien would you want them included in there as a romance that they didn't do? Like, what other species? Let's get weird here.
The original. I mean, there's the obvious Star Wars nerd answer of, Twi'leks are always good.
I was just going to say Twi'leks.
Are those the blue alien? What are they?
The ones with the tentacles on their heads.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
we know exactly who that would be.
Star Wars nerds are obsessed with those, but they are.
Every time I see
Ahsoka's
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
Twi'lek.
Is she really?
Oh no, that's been going on way before Ahsoka was a thing. I think it stems from the the Return of the Jedi, Jabba's palace making the slave
Right.
Twi'lek dance.
Yeah, I always see anytime they do custom covers by some of these kind of more cheesecake artists that they'll have them do some chick with two blue tentacles, and I'm assuming that's the same one that you guys are talking about.
That's a Twi'lek.
there's a Sith that I think is a Twi'lek also, and she has like this red and black pattern, almost looks like a female Darth Maul. So they always have her in like this, in the slave outfit, or and I'm like, all right, well, I guess those are the two favorites. But a she, what do you call them? Jar Jar, like whatever that race is. I don't know if we saw a she version of those guys, but
Gungans.
Let's do some she Gungans in there. Why not?
No, we don't need any Gungans anywhere near this
No
game.
Gungans, please. We'll pass on Gungans.
Can you imagine trying to romance a Gungan?
Misa Gungan.
You'd have to talk to them dirty in that language, yeah.
Oh no. Yusa, just make gestures at them.
It's exciting though. It's good. I'm happy for. Do you have a PS5 yet, Jarrod, or would you buy one to play this remake?
I don't know that I would buy one to play the remake, but it would definitely be on my list once I do end up acquiring one.
Yeah, I'm seeing what this list and kind of trying to figure out what would be a console seller, and I think that has the potential for it. Obviously, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, God of War I think is going to be a big one too, because that was even as late as it was, like they sold a lot of PS4s off that game.
Mm-hmm.
The Coda remake is definitely going to be interesting, like Jarrod said, because that was initially Xbox. So if you have your Xbox or Microsoft purists, and they're obsessed with Coda, which a lot of people are, a lot of people put Coda as one of their top favorite games ever. They might jump into the PlayStation pool and get a PS5 to play this game if it's console exclusive. Now, if it's not, then this argument doesn't matter. Shifting from one to the next, for a 20-year game, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's
especially
a
very
jump.
big title. A very big title, and then you're not talking a sequel either. This is a remake. So
Sony would have had to throw major cash at them to do that.
Who knows? And remember, there's no exclusivity rights to Star Wars anymore. So who knows what's going on now with the Star Wars titles? Because now anybody can make them.
Well, that part makes me very happy. I love it. It's Insomniac to take a Star Wars title, quite frankly.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And this Sony Showcase was something added, and you guys discussed it as well on Discord. So thank you again for bringing that up and making it a part of the show notes. But that is the last part of this week's news. So we're going to head into the sector of the Brokept Block, which is what's been going on this week. What are you playing? What are you reading? What are you watching? Get to know Jarrod, Bobby, and myself a little bit better. So it started off with you, Jarrod. What's been going on this week?
Oh man, I lead such a boring life.
We're parents.
Yeah, I mean, just let's see. Recently, since the last time I was on, we started homeschooling my son. So that's been going pretty well. He's doing letters and learning to read better. Like he gets like some sight words, but that's kind of been a struggle. His favorite seems to be this it's like Go Fish, but with letters, and it's got the uppercase and lowercase letters. Yeah, other than that, just kind of going to work, play a game here and there. I'm playing Splitgate a lot, which is kind of surprising because I bought it like back when, like before it became free now, and like nobody was ever on it. And then all of a sudden they're having such crazy success that they had to limit like their server queues and stuff. So, I mean, it's good for them. They're a small studio. But yeah, that's been pretty much it lately.
Yeah, Jacques been playing Splitgate, and that's kind of how you know that, all right, well, there's definitely people getting into it for sure. I do want to ask about the homeschooling. Is that something that you started straight up, or did you transition him from public to homeschooling?
No, he's just turned 5, so he would have been going into kindergarten this year. It's just a decision that we made. I think you can, at this point, given how, I remember when I was in public school, it was not exactly the greatest education. I just, at least for the first few years, I'd like to get him a solid foundation before he, goes into, the public school sphere. Yeah,
that's pretty, I went to some classes to be at one point I wanted to be a teacher, and I did substitute teaching for about a year as the teacher was out on I think it was medical leave or pregnancy leave, and it was interesting learning the differences between charter schools, homeschooling, public schools, and seeing what the different requirements are for the different schools. So I was just curious to know where that transition was happening or what the decision was behind it. for Leo, we ended up putting him in pre-K at the schools because they offer a speech therapy thing. So I know they can help him in ways that Kelly and I can't. They can kind of, and we both work too. And the grandparents, as much as they love him, I know they're not going to have the structure or the discipline with him of like, all right, well, no, let's pronounce these letters and let's really get through it. They want him to be happy. They're going to give him what he wants and that's not going to happen. So
Yeah, that's just the nature of grandparents.
yeah, it really is. So for him, he's been doing great in this like little tiny public school setting. We want him around some other kids. We signed them up to a soccer class, like a little toddlers or whatever you want to call his age range. He's about to be 4, and he's going to be running around with a little soccer ball and getting him outside, running around and meeting other kids. So that's something that I didn't have the opportunity of growing up in Chicago. Up till first grade, there wasn't really, or at least I wasn't enrolled in those kinds of programs. So my exposure to other kids was very little, which I think affected me going forward through public school. And I was also bilingual. So I went from a school that primarily taught classes in both language to eventually in third grade, it was only English. So there was a lot of like weird, I never really got my footing in school. So it was definitely something that probably influence some of my behaviors even today. So trying to avoid some of that with Leo, which I'm sure some of that goes in your decisions too, to get them on the right path, trying to do the right thing for our kids. And, we're going to screw things up along the way, and whatever we screw up, they can correct with their kids.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things that I realized that like you just try to do your best, but until they're at least 18, you're not going to know if you did a good job.
Especially with the first one. It's both our first ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. And boys are not easy.
No.
At all. I heard that from my understanding, like I said, I don't have a daughter, but boys are harder at the beginning and then get easier as they get older, which I don't know if I entirely believe, but like girls start out easier, but then get more complicated as they get older.
Yes, that's what I heard too, that girls are more eager to please the parents at a younger age, and then they hit that rebellious stage. And then, like you mentioned, boys kind of chill out as they get a little bit older, but
I hope so.
Maybe a little too much. I remember I was a little distant when in my teenage years, but I think that's every teenager, regardless of gender at that point.
Until the girls hit the quote unquote boys stage. Then that's where it gets messy.
Well, then you just get a shotgun.
Well, I was gonna say I'm grateful for that, because if it was a little girl and I don't want to be dealing with the teenage phase and her first heartbreak or any of that shit.
Yep.
Oh, boys go through that part.
It's the everyday crush. They're crushing on somebody else every other day.
Well, and that's the thing though. I can deal with all right, well, Leo had his heart broken. I can but if someone breaks my daughter's heart, like that's it hits you different, I would assume.
I would imagine, like I said, I don't have one, so I can't really compare, but yeah, no, it's always a challenge being a parent. I don't think it changes.
How about you, Bobby? What's been going on with your week? I know we both work in retail, and that's still a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough to say. I'm at my wit's end with retail at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This past year and a half has not been good for retail in certain manners, especially in our realm of where we work. So it's tough.
Market.
The collectibles are just stupid. I'm glad to see it happen. We're all collectors here for the most. Well, I don't know about. Yeah, we're all collectors here. So it's like it's good to see it flourishing and pulling stuff out. And it's like, wow, I bought this a long time ago. It's worth money. But like dealing with it on a retailer side, or you're the person that has to buy that stuff or deal with the clientele, I'm just fucking over it. It's so obnoxious at this point. Everybody thinks they have $1 million in their fucking closet, and I'm tired of it. Or they went to a damn garage sale and they think they hit a gold mine because they watched a TV show or they saw something online or they saw a Twitch streamer do something. Like, I'm just so over it. It's not a thing. So folks, stop doing it. Like, just, it's not a thing. Like,
wait, do you mean my entire catalog of Charizard cards aren't worth anything?
Correct. They're not worth anything.
What about my Death of Superman?
No, that one might be worth some money. Finally.
$25.
Yeah, finally.
Which is huge, actually, considering
Instead
they
of
were
a $3 book.
Yeah.
But yeah, dealing with that is it's obnoxious. And Daniel, you know where I'm coming from with that. It's like the Pokemon stuff is the biggest blunt of it, but dealing with people in that realm are just getting obnoxious at this point. I've been playing a lot of games. I finished Psychonauts 2. All of you out there, please go play it. Excellent game.
You were saying Game of the Year
Excellent
candidate.
game. Yeah, I think that's... see, my Game of the Year was going to be Ratchet and Clank Rips Apart.
Right.
It's a short game, but the character development in that short game was fantastic. Like, I really connected with those characters. They did a really good job. It's a short game, though. That was the bad part about it. But then I played Psychonauts 2, and it's like, wow, this is incredible. The voice acting, the story, you can connect with all the characters. Raz has a very good personality. Like, they went all out on this game, and you can tell, even though it took so long. The game is pretty lengthy. I thought it was going to be short, and it's a lengthy game. There's a lot you can do post game and lots of collectibles. The interesting things that you do with people's minds and trying to repair their thoughts and stuff like that. It's really cool. So, Jarrod, I know that's on your list to play. So when you get into it,
I have started it. I just haven't finished it yet. But no, it is everything I've seen so far. It's a very, very well put together game.
He keeps tagging you like, Jarrod, Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, I'm trying not to spoil because literally anything I mention could be potentially a spoiler. So I don't want to say anything. But.
Yeah, no, honestly, like I'm one of those people. You don't really have to worry about that stuff with me. Like I realize that I consume things slower than most people, so spoilers don't really bother me. I'm still gonna finish it.
But I did 100% it. It's fantastic. So those of you that have access to Game Pass, it's up there. It's free. Go play it. If you're one of those who are like, oh, well, I didn't play the first one. Don't worry. It's not even necessary. I didn't play the first one either. And when the game starts, it kind of recaps the first one anyways. It's really all you need to know. And if you really want to and have to, Psychonauts 1 is also on Game Pass. You can play that too. So they're both up there. This game did not get a disc release. There is no physical. It's digital only. And the only reason it's on PS4 is because of the Kickstarter. So if it wasn't for the Kickstarter, it would not be on PS4. It'd be Xbox only. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, playing a lot of games. I'm catching up Forza now, trying to dust off some achievements in that. Had a lot of personal things. I'll touch on them quickly, but I don't need to elaborate. Mother was in the hospital again. Major issues there. And with COVID, I can't go visit her. So that's a bummer. She did get her gallbladder finally removed after many visits, finding her passed out because of sepsis. So hopefully that's a step in the right direction. But she still has cancer, and that's the other issue underlying we have to deal with. And then on top of that, my daughter had some serious medical issues, and I'm just going to say our medical system in the United States is absolute fucking garbage. So hopefully it can get fixed at one point because she's suffering. And hopefully at some point some of that can get resolved. We've had some good results this week. She saw a soft tissue doctor finally, and she's kind of feeling a little better. She's in severe chronic pain, amongst other things. So besides that, lots of gaming. Been doing a lot of gaming, so that's the good side.
Yeah, no, maybe you don't want to bring it up, but there is a GoFundMe for her that you put up on Twitter once, and I retweeted it, but we'll put it out again. I'll put it out in the link in the description of today's episode, because there are a lot of people struggling with not just, this pandemic, but with a lot of other issues that are making things like basic hospital visits an incredibly difficult thing to do. And it goes all the way down to and I don't mean to say down as far as therapy, but like therapists are even super backed up. There's someone I know personally that's like, I really needed help, and now they're 4 weeks backed up on this thing. So I guess I'll just smile and grin until then. And it's just, there's a lot of that's happening, but it's unfortunate. But yes, there will be a link to the GoFundMe if you want to help out Bobby's daughter. Even $1 helps, and a lot of people are struggling, and some of us can at least I can express some gratitude that I haven't yet been affected in that way by this. But that's, who knows? It could always be a matter of time with anyone, but I'm just grateful that at least today it's that I am able to talk to you guys, and that you guys are able to discuss this, and that the broke head on the other side has the capability or capacity to listen to us chat about nerd stuff for a while. So it's kind of cool to, bring it up sometimes and discuss, because maybe it helps someone out there. So I'm happy about that, at least.
Thanks for bringing up and sharing that. I appreciate it. Just to go with what you said about somebody, like I had to make a gastro appointment a while back, and they wouldn't see me for 45 days. So just think about that if you're in severe pain and they tell you they can't see you for 45 days. Just Just think about that for a second. That's the state of our medical and care system that we're under, insurance problems. So it's not good. And then if the alternative is to go to the hospital and just pretty much be told, they poke you and prod you and tell you you're fine and send you home. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling. I've been trying to find a new primary care for a while, and like there's so many around here that just aren't accepting new patients even.
One of the things to kind of wrap up the Brocat block and really the episode this week, on my end, I was able to go back and watch Collateral, which just hit HBO Max. So something to kind of distract me after the workday, as you mentioned, the collectibles retail market and retail in general, all gigs are going through a weird squeeze and a lot of distribution problems and all that shit. So I've been trying to be more active in letting work go when I'm at home and watching a little bit of HBO Max or getting some extra rest or going to Planet Fitness. And one of the things I got to do this week was rewatch Collateral starring Tom Cruise, Jamie Foxx. Awesome. Holds up great. I really liked it. It kind of had this low indie budget film feel to it, which was kind of weird because some of the directing, I'm like, this almost seems like it was shot by, and I don't mean this in a terrible way, but maybe shot by an independent filmmaker where you can just tell like they went into the city and they shot these scenes real quick in this parking lot and then they moved over here. So it was an interesting experience when you see huge actors like Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise in it, and also had a very young Mark Ruffalo in it. It had a very young Javier Bardem, so it's got all this star power in it. So it's if you haven't seen Collateral, I do recommend it. If you want to see Tom Cruise as a villain, there you go. That's a movie that you don't see too often. And and I started The Sopranos of all things. I know the movie prequel is coming out, and I never had HBO growing up. I never rented the DVDs at Blockbuster. I know Curb Your Enthusiasm was constantly on Blockbuster's giant wall of HBO rentals, and I'm like, I got to see that. I got to watch Sopranos, and now that it's all on HBO Max, I'm like, all right. Some people consider The Sopranos one of the best shows of all time, and I watched the pilot. I'm hooked. I like it. I like the characters. I was a little lost on the plot, but I'm going to chalk that up to pilotness because I'm sure it's going to find its voice throughout the season. I don't know if either of you have any experience with either of those.
Yeah, I've watched the Sopranos most of the way through. It does collect itself a bit. The pilot is a little kind of everywhere.
Never watched The Sopranos. I don't know why. Oh, it's HBO, right? So
yeah.
That's probably I never had access to HBO when that came out, so I just never wanted to pay for it. So that's why I never watched it. I know I have access to it now, and I probably will watch it because we're about to get a new series about The Sopranos starring the actor son, fulfilling the actor's son's role in canon. So that'll be a very interesting thing.
It's one of those things where people are like, is this going to answer the final episode and all this other stuff? And I had that all spoiled for me, and I won't really talk about that in specific here, but if you dig enough, like the show, one of the showrunners has already like accidentally spoiled what happens in that final episode that was talked about, I guess, a lot during that time. And then for years later, they kept asking him what happened in that final episode. And finally he slipped, I think in 2017. And he told the interviewer after he asked that question, after he slipped, he was like, fuck you. Because he knew he fucked up. So, but it's all about that journey. And I'm excited to see where these characters go. And I've knocked out Mayor of Easttown, so I'm kind of like, all right, that chunk is done, and now I can go into a big one, which is The Sopranos. So if I lose interest, I'll drop it. Fine, sure, but so far it's awesome, and people seem to love it, and that's kind of what I've been doing this week, and kind of keeping it a little bit, keeping the retail talk more out of it, because I know that's been wearing down on me, and it's kind of a huge negative right now for me and for a lot of people working it. So now, thankfully, we've got stuff like HBO Max and other streaming services and a plethora of content that we can hopefully distract ourselves with for a little bit as we go through these problems.
When you get a chance, check out White Lotus. It's an odd one, but
people keep telling me,
yeah, that show is so good.
It's a little odd, but it's really good. And I know you're one for camera shots. This show has amazing camera shots. They just randomly show up. It's so gorgeous.
Is this the one that people said only watch season 1? Or am I thinking of Westworld?
No.
I think only season 1 is out, actually.
Okay.
It's like a mini series, too.
It's a limited
like
series.
5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's 6 episodes. That's it.
Yeah, I was thinking of something else with like an Android future something. I don't remember, but that one's also on HBO. So, all right, White Lotus. I'll check it out. Is that just came out recently, I'm guessing, since it's only the one season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a
they
limited
did-
series.
They did the like that one episode a week release, and I think it just finished up like a couple weeks ago.
All right, I'll add it on my queue after Sopranos. That'll be the next one on there.
So you'll get to it in like 4 years from now.
Yeah, so you know. You know exactly.
There'll be like 3 more seasons, and then you're like, "Hey guys, I finally started watching White Lotus."
Probably.
Hey, did you see the trailer that dropped this week for Don't Look Up? Film coming to Netflix.
No, I missed that one.
It's Leonardo DiCaprio, and it also has Jennifer Lawrence. This cast is stacked. It's Leo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Jonah Hill, Tyler Perry, Ron
Yes.
Perlman, Ariana Grande, Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep, Matthew
Holy
Perry,
shit.
Chris Evans, Michael Chiklis, and a couple of others that I'm not too familiar with. Himesh Patel, I think I've seen that name before too. Scott Mescudi. There's Mark Rylance. It's stacked. So I'm ready to see this. I think it comes out December 10th. Netflix December 24th.
Like, what the fuck is this? What Netflix blows all their? That's got to be a year's budget right there. All those fucking actors. Tyler Perry's not cheap. You know, I go to
Right.
Tyler Perry, not to Leonardo DiCaprio.
It just,
Yeah.
The premise is the film tells the story of 2 low-level astronomers who go on a giant media tour to warn mankind of an approaching comet that will destroy planet Earth.
Oh lord.
Meryl Streep is the president.
Of course.
The two astronomers are Leo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
I'm glad you told me about this one. I got to see who. Do you know who's directing it off the top of your head?
Yes, it is. Let's see, directed by Adam McKay.
Adam McKay. I've definitely. I might be mistaking him for
He's-
Chris McKay or something.
He did the screenplay as well, and he wrote it.
Oh, so it's a personal project. That'll be
Yeah,
It's
interesting.
a heck of a cast for a personal project.
It's
Yeah.
a big deal. Distributed by Netflix.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say if anyone's willing to pay for the distribution rights or to have it produced, it's gonna be fucking Netflix. I don't know where they keep getting all this money from, but they are throwing so much money on everyone and everything, for better or worse. We don't know. Some people are saying that Netflix should not be trying to be a production studio, but my thing is they're losing exclusive rights to a lot of existing projects, so why not try to create your own content? I think they
Yep.
got ahead of the game there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Millennial Mike made this comment a couple of weeks ago when he was on, or it might have been further back. To go with what you just said, Amazon's doing the same thing. I know we all hate Amazon, but they are putting out some quality films because of this. Like, they have the money to pay and distribute things. So even though they put out some garbage stuff, like Cinderella, for example, please don't watch that movie. It's garbage. That was, oh my God, that was terrible.
Yeah, the trailer was enough for me to know I wasn't going to watch that one.
Crap, it was so bad. But anyways, they've put out some really good films and a couple good series. Like the Tom Clancy show is phenomenal. With Jim Halpert is so fucking good. And that's a TV show. So like, I've only seen a few of their films and they're decent. And like, I know Mike was talking about some specific ones. Like, he praises some of that content because they have the money and they're paying for specific things. So you tie this back to Netflix. That's exactly what Netflix is doing. They're paying for certain things and pushing it out and making it exclusive. Well, now Amazon's starting to push their movies out in theaters and on Amazon, just like Netflix was doing, because obviously it's working. So where this goes, who knows? Because like this film right here, this Don't Look Up, look at the talent in this movie alone. If it's a comedic film or if it's a serious movie, like if it does gangbusters, where does that lead? We're just going to keep getting movies like this.
The whole landscape is absolutely changing. Better or worse, we'll find out. We'll adapt. We'll keep enjoying these things and kind of move forward with media. But I think that about wraps it up, guys. That was a great sector number 473. I really appreciate you joining me this week and being here for the Brocat Core. So, Jarrod, thank you very much.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure as always.
And Bobby, thank you for being on as the third host.
Of course. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And go ahead and let the Brocat Core know where they can find you, where they can continue the conversation. Start off with Jarrod.
You can find me in the Discord lounge, obviously, as well as on Twitter at Spoon Sandwich.
And how about you, Bobby?
You can find me in the Discord as well. So I think that means two of us have just told you to join Discord. So if you're not on our Discord, please join. You can mute us if you want. You can tap in and talk when you want. Whatever. Just be a part of it. It's an awesome community. So it's pretty cool. But you can find me in there. You can also find me on Twitter at Cubanslim with a Q, QBANSLIM.
Awesome. And there will be links to their social media and to Discord in the description of today's episode. Also a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke. If you'd like to get the episode early each week, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke. And for as little as $1 a month, equals out to 25 cents an episode, sometimes less when there's 5 Sundays in the month. You too can enjoy the podcast early each week. You get an exclusive RSS feed. You just copy and paste that into your favorite podcatcher and that auto downloads every episode. You also get early access to the Patreon exclusive first episodes like the Prestige that Bobby and I already put out on Patreon. People can enjoy it on there, but that one doesn't release until at least a month after publicly. So you get early access to those episodes as well, and you get to choose some of these retrospectives that we do. So you get influence over the content that we put out every week. So all of that helps in the costs of the uploads for the show and the alphonic audio leveling, the website, all of that stuff. So thanks so much to our existing patrons. And also, if you enjoyed this episode and you feel it's worth $1 a month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke. But otherwise, thank you once again to both Bobby and Jarrod for joining us for sector number 473, Brokehead Core. All will be well. So, Bobby, pre-recording, you were talking about Julian and a UPS guy or something. What's going on with that?
FedEx.
Well, FedEx. All right. Well, I'm going UPS because I own stock in them, but sure, let's talk about FedEx.
UPS has a thing too, because what can Brown do for you?
Well, maybe he's waiting. Okay, well, after you finish the story, maybe he should wait for a UPS guy and compare his options there.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe that could be his line to the FedEx guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were all LGG and I. We were watching we were waiting for the Sony conference to start, and we were playing some Final Fantasy 14. So Julian was telling us about how he got propositioned by a FedEx delivery driver. Apparently, he had finished, doing whatever he was doing, and he had looked at him and said that he was cute. I must say that as soon as he said that, Jock was very defensive and very insertive of saying, who was it? What happened? Who said that? What happened? Who said that? So that's a whole different conversation. Then Julian proceeds to say that he now regrets not acting on that because apparently there was some magic there in the air. He did go on to say that this was an older driver, so Julian would have been a cougar in this example, or wait, no, the driver.
No, what's the opposite of the cougar?
Yeah, I don't know what to call that.
The
cub?
Lioness?
Well, they say what? Cradle robber would be the guy or something?
Yeah, the FedEx guy would be the cradle robber. Julian would be the overly anxious child. I don't know.
So, needless to say, that was hilarious. It was a great story.
Yeah, well, he does like him older. We know about King Triton already, so that fit his bill. I'm curious to see if he was actually built like any of these older. I know the UPS guys definitely, they have a hard gig. They have to do, and I'm not saying FedEx is any easier or harder, but I know from people that have worked at UPS, they have to move a shit ton of packages around. So I'm sure you've got to be fit if you're going to work at UPS. I always see the guy sweating and busting his ass when he comes in and he brings in these boxes of paper, comic books, fucking some of the heaviest shit you can deliver. And I think he should wait for UPS. I think he should see if there's some magic there with a UPS worker. And if not, maybe it's not too late, Julian. You can order some more FedEx shit and see if the same delivery driver comes by.
They are usually on a route, so.
And
that's true. It's always the same work. UPS guy.
Like, I can attest to that. I worked for UPS for 10 years, so that the job is no joke. Very physical.
I have a lot of questions for Julian now. And Jacques. I'm more fascinated by that.
For Jacques.
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for Jacques now, less than the FedEx guy.
Maybe Jacques could get a job at FedEx.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Boy, we solved it.
The perfect crossover.
Julian would still turn him down. I'm sad now.